online. So if you go to our Facebook page, the church's Facebook page, you can find the thing, and the YouTube link is in the comments. You can watch the class. And it was a really good class on, not because of me, but because of the topic, for young people, because we're talking about Satan, the evil one, right? And what the deal is with him, and how he trips us up, and how he wins temporarily. We know he loses in the end, but he wins by getting us to fail. And what he does a lot, and a lot lately, and he's done it throughout history, is he gets us to compromise ourselves morally. Because I hate to say you can't, I've said this a lot, you commit a sin that you can't recover from. I probably shouldn't say that. But really what I mean is socially, in certain circles, it's hard to recover from certain vile sins. Or like if you're a pastor and you did something, you literally can't recover, at least not in the Baptist-y circle, right? You cannot be a pastor again if you do X, Y, and Z, right? So that's what I mean when I say you can't recover. Everyone can be redeemed. All sin is forgiven. Okay, or all sin is paid for, right? So Satan knows that if he can get you, especially a young man, to compromise yourself morally, you're stifled. He's got you shoved into a box that you're scared to come out of, especially if other people know what you did. Oh, Henry, you're gonna teach Sunday school at Long Creek Baptist Church? Remember that photo? Remember what happened at that party in the woods 12 years ago? And no, I'm serious. This is what happens. And you're going to teach Sunday school? You know, or you're going to run for Oconee County Council? Really? So am I. Is that a call? Oh. You're going to run for Oconee County Council? So am I. So I might just release some stuff about you so I can win. That happens. And we talked about how that happened. We're seeing that amongst billionaires. It's the same problem that Satan had with greed. Millionaires and billionaires, it's never enough. I've always wondered my whole life why billionaires still work. Like, let's just call it even. Just retire. Enjoy your family. Go on permanent vacation. What else do you need? Even if you're a low-level millionaire, just go serve the Lord somewhere. Retire with your family. Why are we building and building empires, right? Greed. We got to have more. We talked last time about that's what Jeffrey Epstein did. So, because if I could get that multi-billion-dollar contract over there, like, I can't get it. They already told me no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite their VP of Human Resources, and I'm going to invite their COO out to my island. That's what I'm going to do. And they're going to do it because everyone knows that my island is the place to be. And so he invites them out, and then as they fly back, they're compromised. Now, guess what? The next day, he's got that multi-billion-dollar government contract. That, if you dumb it all down to the root of what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, that's what it was. Same with P. Diddy. Oh, you're not going to be on my record label? You're going to 50 cents. How about come to my party first? After Friday night, you'll be on my record label. That's what P. Diddy did. Now I got you. He invited, was it the Reverend T.D. Jakes out there? Oh, a couple months later, T.D. Jakes resigned from his church. Now I got a church in my pocket. Now I got $1 billion church in my pocket, right? So that's what Satan's doing to us, and it's in front of us before we know it. We won't know it. You could think about right now any sin scenario, and you could think, not me, I'll get out of that, right? But when you're in the moment, you're not paying attention and it taps you on the shoulder. Can you get out of that? Could you get out of that? And all your friends are doing it. And they're going to laugh at you. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to call you every name. You even rode there with them. You got to ride back with them or find another ride. That's why I said last time, my whole life, I don't ride with anyone, anywhere. Not even today. It's hard. If I'm in a car riding with someone as a passenger, I am not okay mentally. I have to be in control. I want to leave a party. And in my 20s, when I would go to parties, I'd park at the end of the driveway facing out, because I've been in too many situations where you couldn't get out till the next day. Yeah. Talk about everything handed to you on a silver platter that you could want labeled with sin. Can you get out of that? Can you say no? We have to, that's why the whole armor of God is important. And being prepared for anything to be presented to us so that we stay straight. You're going to get made fun of, but 20 years from now, you'll be morally straight. I can run for city council with a clean mind. I can teach Sunday school with a clean mind. And you still can. God forgives. Sunday school teachers aren't perfect. I'm not perfect, right? There's stuff in my past, but we got to avoid, at minimum, the morally compromising things that crush us spiritually and keep us from serving the Lord because we feel like we're not good enough. Like, oh, I did this, this, and this. I could never serve the Lord. All right, so that's Satan's number one thing. He can't win the war, but he can win many battles along the way, and he can stop the spread of the gospel, or he can hurt it. He can hurt our reputation. So we talked about Satan being a created being. He's not this idea of evil. He is evil. He's a being that is evil. We talked about how Satan isn't really his name. It's not a proper noun in the original manuscripts. It's the Satan, which means the accuser. So everywhere we see the name Satan, literally translated, it should say the accuser. And I beheld Satan fall from heaven like lightning fall from heaven. It's really what it said was, I saw the accuser fall from heaven like lightning. He didn't deserve a name. He was named Lucifer, light bearer, the shining one, right? He was beautiful. He was the most magnificent heavenly creature, created being. And then after he devised evil in his mind, he didn't deserve a name anymore. So he was the accuser, the devil, the evil one. And he's always accusing us to God. And we talked about how most of what he's accusing us of to God are not false allegations. Did you hear what James said last week? Did you see how James didn't take care of his family on Monday? Did you see how James had pride and greed and jealousy in his heart towards this situation? It's all legit. It's all legit. But at the same time, you have Jesus, not that God needs to be reminded, but reminding, I paid. It's like Satan's passing the accusation across the desk and Jesus stamps, paid in full, paid in full. So it's real, they're real accusations, but paid in full. So they don't ever make it to God, who's going to judge sin. It's just, they're all paid. And that's what happens. So let's not give Satan true things to accuse us of. All right, I'm going to read some from this book and we'll talk about it as we go. If Satan were not a created being, it should say, if the Satan, if the accuser were not a created being, then he must be eternal or self-existent. The scriptures declare that all things were created by God through Christ, and there is nothing that was made by him. And there was nothing that was not made by him. The time of his creation, the time of Satan's creation, is not specified. In Ezekiel, he refers to Satan and the earthly Garden of Eden. Then, of course, he had to have been created before God planted the Garden of Eden. So it's believed that Satan and the angels were created before the Garden of Eden, and then they observed all of that. And we talked about the primary sin that Lucifer had was jealousy and pride. And if we have time, we get into those things today, but or maybe next week. But I will be like the Most High, right? So, but you're created in this heavenly realm, and God may not have shared his ultimate plan with the angels. They just see what they see, and they're worshiping God. And then Lucifer knows, obviously, that he is the highest exalted cherub in heaven. There's no one higher than him, other than God, other than the Trinity. And then one day, God starts creating. Well, what's all this? What's all those big round things, right? They're called, we're going to call them planets. What's happening? What's this light? And I think Lucifer's fine with all that. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna go explore, right? And then one day he sees God take the dirt of the ground and form man in his image. And that he called it good. At least once he made woman from man, then he said this is good. And that they were given dominion over the earth. And that they were special in the eyes of God. And I just imagine Lucifer watching all this, like, what's happening? I'm getting bumped down a couple notches. He sure does love them more than us. What's up with that? And so then it became pride and ego and jealousy entered. Satan's the one behind the Antichrist, which is to be announced at some future time. All right, Satan's position in all of creation. Satan had unparalleled wisdom and beauty. So he's extremely wise. His beauty is that which cannot be described. And any time that we do have angels described, you can tell they don't even know the words to use. Big round sparkling wheels, what is it, right? And we know that every time somebody encountered an angel, the angel had to first say, fear not, do not fear. Like when I go up to a stranger, I might say, hey, can I ask you a question? I'm not saying, hey, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of me, right? But they had to announce to humans, don't be afraid. I'm bringing good news. I'm bringing good tidings. The Lord has sent me. Why did they have to tell them not to be afraid? It's this crazy thing that we can't imagine, whatever their appearance is. He belonged to the order of angelic creature, angelic creature designated as cherubim. They're associated with guarding the holiness of God. We've said before that God doesn't need guarding. God doesn't need security or bodyguards, right? This is an honorary or customary position. It's like the Queen's guards in the red suits and the black hats. I mean, are they really guarding her? You can see in the background the people dressed in military clothes with the AR-15s and the Kevlar vests on, the plate carriers. They're the ones guarding the Queen. But the cherubs guarding the throne and guarding God and guarding heaven, that's all symbolic. It's out of honor and respect. God doesn't need guarding. He can look at you wrong and you're done. Satan was perfect in a sense of being completely sound and of having total moral integrity. So he was in the same manner as that the Garden of Eden was, and then it wasn't. In the same manner that Adam and Eve were, and then they weren't. Satan was created. And as a creature, he must someday answer to his creator. Comments? Questions?
No, they got guys.
Huh?
Those two guys.
What about them?
I never did.
They look like a rough group back there. That's the more spiritual table back
It
there.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, here's I'm going to read an excerpt from, let's see, Donald Barnhouse wrote this. He awoke in the first moment of his existence in the full-orbed beauty and power of his exalted position, surrounded by all the magnificence which God gave him. He saw himself as above all the hosts in power, wisdom, and beauty. Only at the throne of God itself did he see more than he himself possessed. And it is possible that even that was in some sense not fully visible to the eyes of the creature. Before his fall, he may be said to have occupied the role of prime minister for God, ruling possibly over the universe, but certainly over this world. So, it's like the billionaires. They have it all. They want more. I want that $1 billion contract, and I want that $1 billion plant, and I need the next fleet of airplanes. We're not satisfied. Satan, Lucifer, was not satisfied, right? What was it, Barnwell? What Barnhouse just wrote, what we just read, was that although he was given all and authority over all, he wanted more. He wanted more. But he's not all powerful. He's not omnipresent. I've heard people say, "Oh, Satan's in every church every Sunday." No, he's not. He can only be in one church. And I don't believe he is in a church if it's a real church, Bible-believing church, right? I've always thought could be, but I believe if there's an actual legit worship service going on, I don't think demons could really survive that presence. Could. I go back and forth on this some because people are like, "Oh, demons have to flee at the name of Jesus." I don't think they do. They've had conversations with Jesus, right? Satan had conversations with Jesus. Come up to the temple and throw yourself off. Turn this stone into bread. Or, like Jesus is interacting. Satan didn't have to flee. Now, if Jesus said flee, he'd be gone like lightning. He has to obey the command. But I don't really know how that works. I just know that there's been conversations and they converse with Christians. Hey, we know Peter, who are you? It's only when given a command endorsed by Christ that they flee, and like me, James, aren't you scared saying Satan's name so many times and talking about Satan and teaching about? No, Satan better be afraid of me, right? He better be afraid of my name because I'm a child of the King, right? I have the Holy Spirit lives in me. I'm not scared at night in the dark. He better be scared. Show up, pull up. Right? What's happening? I'm winning. I'm winning the argument, right? Stay away from me, right? So I ain't scared. I am, what's the word? I'm respectfully aware of what influence could be in my life, but I'm not trembling in fear of demons and scary things. because the Holy Spirit lives in me. I'm a child of the King. My permanent address is in heaven. I'm not scared in that regard.
Aspect of life that you have to kind of disrespect and try to stay away from.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be similar to war. Like if you were going to war with some small third world country, like I respect that you could get me with an IED that I ain't watching for, but you ain't gonna get me in a skilled battle, right? So yeah, so you have to, that's the point. You got to be on guard, got to be prepared for everything.
When you're walking around trying to fight, no.
No, not, yeah, I probably shouldn't tell Satan to pull up, but yeah, so I'm just saying, my point is, I have observed a lot of Christians be very fearful of that kind of thing and like rub across, Jesus, come on, right? I mean, there's an element to that, but I'm not, whoa, Satan. I'm aware. I'm ready for battle. I don't want to go to battle. I got to be ready. You got to be ready at all times. And we said last time that looked like Joseph encountering Potiphar's wife. That wasn't planned. It's just in a moment, in the blink of an eye, he has this realization that he has a decision to make. There's no one else around. There's no video cameras. There's no social media. No way anyone could know anything ever. I got a decision to make. And he valued his relationship with God more than his relationship with mankind. And he valued not being morally compromised. So it looks like a grown man running from a woman. That's what it looks like. So much so that you leave your coat behind in their hand and that you go to prison for years for something you didn't do. I'll take that. I'll take that over a moral compromising situation, over a sinful situation, over something that compromises my relationship with God. All right. In Ezekiel 28, sin was found in him. This is the only verse in the Bible that states exactly the origin of sin. The details of Satan's sin are specified elsewhere, but the origin is only expressed here. It's been termed spontaneous generation in the heart of this being in whom such magnificence of power and beauty had been combined, and to whom such authority and privilege had been given. This is deep theological studies on where did sin come from? It had to come from somewhere. Well, this theologian says it's spontaneously generated, but because the possessor allowed it to. It like thoughts that enter our, how did that thought even enter my mind? What do we do with that thought? Do we end it? Do we pray, take this out of my head right now? Or do we entertain the thought? What do we do with it? Satan entertained the thought. So this sin must have been included in the eternal plan of God. Isn't that crazy to think about? Sin was included in God's plan. Yet God never assumes the responsibility for the commission of any sin. I'm going to read this other excerpt from J. Buswell. He says this, according to the Bible, then sin originated in an act of free will. See, that's something God gave us all is free will. He wants us to obey and follow him, but he doesn't want to make us. He wants to see if we'll just do it, because that's the ultimate act of love. could I love someone with all my heart if they didn't make me? If I just loved them out of love. So it's out of free will, in which the creature deliberately, responsibly, and with adequate understanding of the issues chose to corrupt the holy character of godliness with which God had endowed his creation. Satan, the accuser, sinned necessarily. God is rightly angry with all sin. The denial of free will seems to be purely arbitrary dogmatism, contrary to the biblical view. If God is rightly angry with sin, then it follows that the sinner is blameworthy, ultimately and absolutely. So God has no implication in the sin just because he allowed it. It's 100% the fault and responsibility of the sinner. Sin must be within God's eternal decrees in some sense, in which he is not the author of it. Within the decrees of God, there are decrees of the permission of those things of which God himself is not the author. This is not mere permission of the unavoidable. Sin was found in Satan, yet he was created perfect. God is not the blameworthy cause of Satan's sin, yet it was included in his plan. It can be hard to comprehend. So, in other words, God did his part, created perfect, gave perfect environment, perfect surroundings, gave him all the tools he needed to succeed, threw in their free will. Like you got it perfect. Now let's see if you do it on your own. Nope, he didn't. So the sin was derived in the heart and mind of Satan, not God. But obviously God knew that would happen in an exercise to display true love and redemption. You know, why? Why, God? For God's pleasure. We know in Revelation 4:11 that God created all things for his pleasure. I've always thought, just add a period right there. End your theological search there. Why was anything and or everything created? For God's pleasure. Why did he give free will? For his pleasure. It pleased him to see man choose him over the world. It pleased him to see that man could recognize their own faults and sin and position which needed atonement. It pleased God to see man come to that understanding and realization, and then to depend on him as creator, God, redeemer, which ultimately restores the eternal relationship between creation and creator. You know, why is God such an evil dictator, sending everyone to hell? You know, all the tools have been given to us. It's not easy, but we've been given all the tools. We've been given the right information. There's a church on every corner in the United States. How can you die unsaved in the United States? Right? His goal is an eternal relationship with us. Eternity is a long time. Life here is a very short time. Right? Before you know it, you're looking at social media and everyone your age is dying. And then you realize, and people younger than you are dying. You realize life is short. You always knew it, but then you realize it one day. And that the ultimate goal is to please God. That looks like a lot of different ways, but to serve God, to worship God, to spread the gospel, to fellowship with like believers, to help each other, to help the homeless, to help the poor, to do good things in this life, which point others to Christ, is the purpose. No matter how short or long, we're given opportunity to breathe oxygen here. And to breathe oxygen and live another year isn't the goal. The end thing is serving God forever in heaven, worshiping the Messiah forever in heaven. We're just temporarily positioned right here, but well thought of, well planned for. What people call accidents aren't accidents. We're here by divine ordination from God. Oh, so-and-so was conceived by what? They were conceived by ordination of God. That soul was by ordination of God, so that that person could grow up worshiping and serving the Creator. The New Testament pinpoints Satan's particular sin as arrogance. Where's my voice? Conceit, or being puffed up, 1 Timothy says in 1 Timothy. It is likened to the conceit a new convert may have when he is either pushed forward or asserts himself too quickly and begins to take to himself the glory that belongs to God. Ezekiel assigns the cause of Satan's downfall to the abundance of his trade. In other words, Satan used his position for personal profit, to traffic in his own self-promotion. Even when Satan was cast out of heaven, it was like one of those Jerry Maguire moments. Who's going with me? Then again, all these angels mind their own business. They hardly even knew what sin was, if they knew what sin was at all. And then they're confronted with an eternal decision. Who's going with me? Well, that's the light bearer. That's the anointed cherub that covers. Obviously, I'm going with him. And however many it was, Scripture tells us a third of that group said, yeah, hey man, we're with you, bro. Where you go, we're going. Not realizing they had just turned their back to the throne, which was higher than Satan, and took a step forward, an eternal death sentence when their foot hit the floor in the other direction. An eternal hot suffering sentence when their foot hit the floor. And then there's 2/3 standing there like, bro, that's crazy. That is, y'all out of your mind. The throne is right there. The crystal sea is right here. We bow in this direction, not this direction. What are y'all doing? Like, I'm with him. Y'all go do whatever you want. I'm right here. And those 2/3 remain today.
That looks like just like sin nature, because like we were created to serve God and love God because we were created perfect. But like whenever we sin, we're choosing like just like that. Like we're going the opposite
Yes.
direction.
Yeah.
You're making a conscious choice to act on the sin, and it is always because it's what you want. Always. Well, so-and-so told, nope. You heard what you wanted to hear. You did what you wanted to do. But so-and-so said it was going to be, nope. What did the throne say? We never heard about someone being able to go this way before. We've always worshiped the King of Kings. We've always worshiped the Creator. But it looked like there was a pretty cool opportunity over here. Well, that's a pretty cool opportunity too that you're leaving. It's, all sin is because of pride. It's what I wanted in the moment. I wanted to satisfy something that has to do with me as opposed to staying straight for ultimate eternal satisfaction. Now I'm compromised. I got to do something about that, whatever the sin was, whether it was small or whether it was socially and morally compromising. Like we all know there's sins that even the lost would be like, bro, you're done for good, right? There's vile sins out there, vile. And they can be presented to all of us, even churchy people, even Sunday schooly people, right? Even the most spiritual group back there, right? These moral and socially compromising sins can get us, right? We have to stay free. Imagine if you could make it to being an adult, to being 60 years old and being able to say, yep, I never did that. I never did that. Oh, you messed up when you were at that party in the basement of that party in town? I didn't go down there. When I picked up on the social cues of what was going on in that basement, I left. And you know why I could leave? Because I parked at the end of the driveway. I drove myself here, parked at the end of the driveway, facing out. I drove myself home. Imagine being 60 years old and that's your memory instead of the other life that you affected. Can you imagine? Other than the sin being what the sin is, can you imagine as a man living your life wondering if and when that female is ever going to come forward? Can you even imagine that torment? Hundreds of thousands of men live with that. And I'm not showing sympathy for it. I'm just saying that's one of the horrible, dreaded things that holds people down. Right? If I ever went to pastor that church, what if so-and-so from that college campus ever said anything? So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing over here. Right? Let alone, you just shouldn't do the sin. I'm not trying to get away from that. I'm just saying people get that Satan wins those battles. Yes, you can be forgiven by God. Yes, you can be saved. Yes, you can serve the Lord, but you're going to be mentally suppressed and psychologically suppressed and have a weight, let alone the weight that the other person has carried their whole life. So be vigilant. Always have the full armor of God on. We got to end.